Hello everyone, this is Jim Cross. Thank you for joining us again this afternoon. We have been getting a lot of the same questions, so I thought we would get back on this afternoon and try to answer some of those. If you have questions during the course of the presentation, you can always send them to me at jcross@villagemissions.org. We've got an agenda for today. We're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about how the Affordable Care Act affects us. We're going to talk about what the local church's responsibility is. And in light of that, we're going to talk about what other coverage options are out there. And then we have two special groups that we need to talk about briefly. We need to talk about wives of Medicare-eligible missionaries, and we also need to talk about children who are under age 26. And then in the time that we have left, we'll take some questions. I've got about 15 minutes worth of material here, and so we should be out of here within 45 minutes or so. So let's start with a word of prayer. We want to ask the Lord's favor on our time together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love for us. We thank you for providing for our missionaries in every way. And Father, we ask that you would just guide us this afternoon, just give us wisdom as we seek to do your will, that each missionary, each church would find the way to provide for their missionaries in the best way possible. So we just ask for wisdom in that in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Let's see. Before I continue, I would just like to make sure that you can all hear. If you can hear me, just go ahead and let me know in the questions panel. We can hear you. Okay, good. Good, good. All right, it could be louder. Well, I will try to speak up a bit. All right. Good. So let's move on. We're going to be talking about Village Missions and the Affordable Care Act. Now, Village Missions is a large group employer, and we are required to provide ACA-compliant insurance, and we do that. There are just a few things that I want to highlight here. Employee coverage is mandated. We are mandated to provide insurance for children up to age 26. Curiously, spouse coverage is not mandated, and that is just something I wanted to highlight for you to let you know that the Affordable Care Act really isn't a real comprehensive package of coverage. It could really be more described as a bucket full of a bunch of good ideas and progressive policies that were kind of thrown in and mixed together. So there are some inconsistencies in the law, and they present some challenges to us in how to implement it. Of course, we do cover spouses. I mean, we don't have to worry about that. Village Missions plan is ACA compliant. We provide all of the mandated categories of services or treatment that are required under the law. Now, employees are not required to accept an offer of coverage. This is a relatively new development in the past couple of years since we have moved away from being self-funded. We can offer coverage, but you're not obligated to accept it. You have options. And you are free to look around and see what is available in your local marketplace. And we really can't influence you one way or another. Back when we were self-funded, we really encouraged participation in our plan. And that was in the interest of keeping the pool together. The ACA has done some good things for us in terms of removing the pre-existing requirements and giving people flexibility on where to access health care. Now, employees who do not elect Village Mission's plan are probably not eligible for premium tax credits. We want to make that clear. There has been some discussion in the past year or so. The United Methodist Church has been leading the discussion in this area, where last year the big question for their denomination was who counts as the employer. Is it the ministry, the local church where they are appointed, or is it the clergy members' conference? They have received some guidance from the IRS. In February, the IRS released its final rule regarding employers' responsibility, and they haven't given us a whole lot to go on. Essentially, that rule instructed churches to use a reasonable, good faith interpretation standard in identifying employers within their organization. Now, the United Methodist Church's situation is a bit different than ours. We can look at it, but we really cannot take guidance from it. Their Book of Discipline, originally published in 1784, asserts that the minister is not an employee of the conference, the denomination, or the local church. We, Village Missions, does not make such an assertion. Our missionaries are regular common law employees who file taxes as clergy. Village Missions recruits, screens, trains, hires, and places the employees. So we really can't take a lot from the United Methodist Church's issue, their situation. So we are seeking a legal opinion. We have a relationship with a lawyer who is well versed in church law, and we've asked them to look at this situation for us and perhaps provide some further guidance. For right now, though, I just want to emphasize that if you're out there looking at exchange plans, you're probably not eligible for premium tax credits, and I wouldn't count on them. Okay, so let's look at the other side. We want to look at the local church responsibility. The local church responsibility is defined in the agreement that was drafted when you first came on board with Village Missions. We know it as VM&U, and there's a phrase in VM&U. It says, one of the responsibilities of the local church is to fund the mission-provided benefits package, the medical, life, and disability. That requirement, that expectation for the local church still holds true. There's a little hang-up on the language mission-provided. That really doesn't apply anymore. We've had a little bit of discussion recently on whether or not we should amend VM&U. And right now we're thinking, let's leave it alone for the time being, because the ACA can change. The whole ACA is very much in flux. Its future is in doubt, and our hope is that perhaps between the Supreme Court and Congress, perhaps they will take some teeth out of the law and return some more discretion to individuals and employers to determine how they should go about accessing health care. So for right now, VM&U is just going to remain status quo. One important point that I want to make clear regarding local church responsibility is that employers can no longer make non-taxable payments for individual coverage. This is a huge change. It was not done in the ACA. It was a regulatory interpretation, and hopefully this is something that will not stand. For years and years and years, employers have always been able to reimburse employees for individual health coverage. And so starting in 2014, because of a regulatory decision, employers can no longer make non-taxable payments. So that means that if you go out to the exchange and you get an individual plan, your church can reimburse you, but what they're going to do is gross up your taxable salary. It's going to result in more taxable salary to you. And that may not be much of a burden. There's a question about whether or not you could get group health care. Churches that have only the pastor as the employee probably wouldn't be able to take advantage of group health care, because it used to be, when insurance regulation was mostly the state's responsibility, some states would say that you could have a business group of one employee. Other states would say, no, you have to have a business group of 2 employees as a minimum. And in those states where you had to have 2 employees, you'd have the small business owner hiring his wife, so they could have a group of 2 and get group health insurance. At any rate, the ACA has eliminated business groups of 1, so that is no longer an option for churches who only have the pastor as the single employee. If you're in that situation, you're going to be pushed into the individual market. So, nonetheless, the ACA does provide options. I wanted to make sure that you're all aware that open enrollment does end December 15th for January 1st coverage. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to get coverage after December 15th. It means that the coverage wouldn't be able to commence on January 1st. You do have until February 15th to access exchange plans if you desire to go that way. Some questions to consider. Top of mind when you're considering what type of health insurance you want, you just need to ask how you use the health insurance. Are you a high utilizer? Are you a low utilizer? And most importantly, with these exchange plans is, can you get access to the doctors that you want to see? You're going to want to consider those questions. We really can't tell you, as an employer, we can't tell you which way to go. We can't make recommendations one way or the other. We can just lay out the facts for you and let you make a decision that is best for your family. What I've come to realize this year, going through all of this, is that one size does not fit all. So if you're a little bit unsure about what Village Missions is offering, you can go to the public exchange at healthcare.gov. They have insurance company plans. They're offered by name brand insurance companies that you will recognize in your local market. But again, check the networks. Make sure you can access the doctors that you want to see. Another viable option that we just want to make sure that you're aware of is children's health insurance plans. If your children see the doctor frequently, if they have ongoing medical cases, this is something that you may want to look at. These are state-funded plans. They offer comprehensive coverage for children, particularly with dental and vision. You can apply at any time of year, and coverage can start immediately. So that is an option for families. I know that some families that have been investigating their options are actually doing things like putting the children into a CHIP plan, and then the husband and wife are coming onto the Village Missions plan. And you can look at your circumstances and do what is best for your family. That's the only recommendation that we're making here today, is do what is best for your family. There are a couple of groups that we do need to talk about in particular. Wives of Medicare-eligible village missionaries may access a Village Missions plan without the husband maintaining coverage. This is a big change. We are going back to a policy that we had in place 2 years ago when we were self-funded. So if the husband or the employee is Medicare eligible and wishes to go on to Medicare, he can do that. And he can do it without concern as to whether or not his wife can continue coverage. So that is an option that is available. Again, it's all about providing some flexibility to you. The other group that we need to talk about is adult children. We have a gap in coverage. I was just checking the sound here. Somebody lost the sound, but I think we're okay. Okay. The Affordable Care Act will require that any child under age 26 be covered. It really doesn't matter if the child is your dependent, whether they are working full-time, whether they are in school. It can be any child under age 26, and it can be any child even if they have another offer of coverage through an employer. It doesn't matter. The ACA wants us to offer that coverage. Christian Healthcare Ministries, on the other hand, does say that they will only cover children up to age 26 if they are meeting these three standards: Christians living by biblical principles, single, and your legal dependent. So we have a gap that we need to cover. And again, we can't tell you which way to go. If you believe that your best option is for this child to be on Village Mission's plan, then what will happen is the Village Mission's pool, will pay the premium to Christian Healthcare Ministries to make sure that the child has coverage. It would cost the pool $1,944 a year to be able to do that for one child who fell into that gap. But the thing that we need to emphasize here is that the gap must be covered. So if you have a child who is not your legal dependent, but we are required to provide coverage for based on the law, I would just want to highlight the options that are out there. And again, I think that your decision needs to be guided by the idea, how does the child use health care? If they are a normal, healthy individual who does not expect to see the doctor, then they don't need that much health care. They just need something in case they maybe break a leg, playing sports, or something like that. If the child does see the doctor regularly, maybe they do need a little higher level of coverage. But I did want to share with you some things that are available out there on the marketplace. I have a hypothetical 22-year-old who makes $20,000. Maybe they're employed full-time, first job, something like that. And just wanted to highlight what would be available to a person like this. If they are in normal health, they do not expect to see the doctor, they could get a plan on their own that would have a deductible of $5,250 for $45 a month. This is after the premium tax credit. It would be $140 a month before the tax credit, $45 a month after. And of course, as an individual who is not your dependent, they could have access to a plan like this. So that's one option. This is I'm not going to see the doctor, but if something really bad happens, I am not going to go bankrupt kind of a policy. If they expect to see the doctor more frequently, they may want something like this, which is a gold plan, $120 a month after the premium tax credit. By comparison, Christian Healthcare Ministries has a bronze plan that's $45 a month, and they've got the gold plan, which is what Village Missions is going with, and that would cost $192 a month. So those are just a couple of options. I want to put them out there for you. We've got a week or so for folks to make decisions on whether or not they are going to go to the exchange or stick with Village Missions. And again, it is your decision. We're not going to try and influence you either way. That's not our goal. We want to make sure that gaps are covered, that people have the coverage that is the right size for them. So with that, I'm available for questions. I've got one question that came through. I've got a couple that came through on the chat panel that have to do with CHIP plans. One person asked if husband and wife go on VM plan and kids go on CHIP, or if wife of Medicare husband goes on plan, what is church's coverage cost? Okay, so if a husband and wife go on the VM plan and the kids go on CHIP, the premium for the husband and wife would be $812 a month. You'd have $812 a month. You would have $2,000 of first dollar coverage in the HRA, and yeah, that's about it. If a Medicare husband goes on the plan, the church's coverage for the wife would be $450 a month. Let's see, another missionary asks if the church opts to reimburse us for an individual health plan and also to give something to offset taxes, how do we report the income to Village Missions? Will these things mean we are now self-supporting and result in a net loss of income, or will we report our usual income, receive the supplement, and have the additional income for insurance? These are the unintended consequences of the things that we're dealing with right now. If the church reimburses you for an individual health plan, you are looking at an increase in income technically, but the mission does require the church to provide the health insurance. So you would continue to report what the church pays for the health insurance as health insurance on your monthly report, and not as items paid by the church. So it would not be included in the supplement base. If they give you something to offset the taxes, you know, that is additional income. I'm just reading the rest of the question to make sure I've answered it adequately. So the short answer is, if the church reimburses you for your individual health plan, you're not going to include that on your monthly report. I do want to go back and have a discussion with Brian and the district representatives on the treatment of the taxes. Whatever we do, we want to make sure that we do it consistently across the board so everybody's getting a fair shake. But I really appreciate you bringing that up. That is something that we did not anticipate in this, but it's not something that we cannot resolve to everybody's satisfaction. Okay, let's see. One more question here. Just to reconfirm, for an adult couple missionary, do we need to sign up in any other specific way to be on the plan, or are we automatically brought into the general plan? Yes, you are automatically brought in. In fact, we have already sent the enrollment file to Christian Healthcare Ministries. If you are currently in Village Missions plan, then you will continue unless you tell us differently. Next week, in fact, we are going to have, we're going to be on the phone with Christian Healthcare Ministries once again, and we're going to be talking about the rollout. In the next week or so, you should be receiving packages in the mail from Christian Healthcare Ministries, and there will be some forms in there to sign and return to Christian Healthcare Ministries. All right. We also have a question. What if someone goes into the exchange? Can they, at a later time, change back to Christian Healthcare Ministries? You can, but it is going to have to be during an open enrollment period. Village Missions Plan will have an open enrollment period that is the same as the federal enrollment period. So it will start about October 15th, and then run through December 15th for coverage beginning January 1st. So if you go into the exchange for January 1st, you are committed for 1 year. Would our adult child, age 20, who files their own taxes, need to pay $192 for VM coverage? The law, the good old ACA, also does not allow us to charge extra for a family plan. So if you want your child on the VM coverage and they don't qualify under the CHM standards, Village Missions is going to buy an additional unit at $192 a month for that child. So to get to your question, how do we collect the $192? I know that a lot of families who want to see their kid on the VM plan are also not going to want to see the pool pay the $192 a month. And what we need to do is just receive that $192 a month as a gift, as a free will offering to the employee benefit plan. The employee benefit plan can accept gifts, and we're not going to bill for it. We're not going to keep track of it. We're just going to trust you to send it in as a free will offering. Okay. My friend Mike McWinnie, I will call him out because I know he'd appreciate that, but he just asked about penalties, question mark. Okay. Mike, if you could elaborate. Oh, he asks, can we then accept a free will offering as well? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great idea, Mike. You can accept a free will offering from your children. That's a great idea. All right. We have another question. Do you anticipate that for a couple in good health with no children, that the cost would be more beneficial to stay with the missions policy or seek our own? Again, that has to do with how you utilize health care. But honestly, I think that this plan that we've built with the HSA, or the HRA, and Christian Healthcare Ministries is a really good plan. If you have an incident that requires hospitalization, it is going to cost you $500. And that $500 is going to come out of the HRA. It is not going to come out of your own pocket. And if you look at the plans that are available on the exchange, most of the plans that are going to be available for about the same premium will have deductibles. They'll probably be really high deductibles. So long story short, hospitalization under CHM is going to be $500. Hospitalization under most health plans out there is probably going to be $2,000 or more out of your pocket. So I anticipate that for a couple in good health with no children, that staying with the missions policy is going to be the way to go. Okay. All right. Okay. Mike McWinnie clarified his question. Thank you. If we go to exchange and return from, if we go to the exchange and return to Christian Healthcare Ministries, is there a penalty? There is no penalty, but you will not be able to get in. If you go to the exchange, you're going to be in there for 12 months. Enrollment for Village Missions is not going to be available to you. The only way that you can enroll in a plan, in an employer-sponsored plan, outside of the enrollment period, is to be a new hire. So, you know, new hires come in on the first of the month after they are hired. Anyone else has got to wait for the open enrollment period. Okay, so we've got a question. So for an adult child who does qualify for CHM, there is no additional charge to the mission or missionary. Yes, that is correct. An adult child who does qualify under the CHM standards, we're just talking about your regular old college student, or someone who is maybe, not in school but not working and just seeking the Lord's will for their life. They qualify. They qualify for Christian Healthcare Ministries, and there is no additional charge for that child. Okay. Asking about accidents involving ATVs, boats, etc. There is no specific exclusion for those types of activities. There will be exclusions for, I would say, the adrenaline junkie style sports, parachuting, scuba diving, crazy stuff, but your run-of-the-mill recreational activities like riding an ATV or a boat, those are not excluded. You'll have coverage for those. Okay. Asking, where do we see the full coverage offered by the mission plan for comparison? I would recommend that you view the webinar that I did with Terry Lawrence a couple of weeks ago, and I will send out the link for that once again. But Terry does a really good job of covering what is covered under Christian Healthcare Ministries, and then I did a follow-up talking about the HRA. We do have some plan documents that we have received from the lawyer in draft form today. We're reviewing those on Friday, and we'll have those available for you next week. There's no surprises. I think we've covered the essential elements of the coverage in the past 2 webinars. So if you view those, you should be able to make a good comparison between the Village Missions plan and what is available on the exchanges. Okay. Let's see. If we've come to the end of our questions, then we might be done for today. Okay. Let me see. We got a late one here. Let's just see what. Okay. In some states, towns, there are health fairs or clinics where labs are done at a much lower price. Also, there's something called direct access, which is much less. These both need to be paid for when service is rendered. Yeah, that is some good advice regarding cheaper ways to get wellness and labs, and you should be on the lookout for those. Be on the lookout for those sorts of things that are offered in your area. And we're going to cover that on another upcoming webinar. I hope in 2 weeks we'll be talking to Sean Parnell of selfpaypatient.com, and he has got a lot of great ideas for you on how to save some money. Okay. How do we know what doctors or services will accept Christian Healthcare Ministries? Well, Christian Healthcare Ministries does not have a network, so you're not limited to who you can go see. You can go to see whoever you want. The thing is, you have to negotiate payment with the doctor that you're going to see. You need to tell them we're self-pay patients, and what is this going to cost me? And they'll give you a price. And then it's up to you to decide whether or not that's worth it to you. I've done some asking around, and here in Dallas, Oregon, I can get a cash price for an office visit that is equivalent to what Regions Blue Cross would pay. So that's pretty fair. We do have, let's see, we do have a question, and this is probably more of a statement. I'll just read it and share it with you, and we can talk about this. Beginning to wrestle with the ethical implications of having the parents of a family join VM's plan and having the kids use state-covered insurance, can you give us some thoughts on how this would go along with the biblical idea that the church should do its best to take care of its own rather than relying on unbelievers to care for us? Since VM has set up a system to be able to cover kids in the upcoming plan, what are the ethical considerations that we need to think through? You're right. You need to pray about it and consider whether or not you think that your conscience would allow you to have your children on state-sponsored insurance. One of the reasons that I mention the state-sponsored children's health insurance is that they have very good comprehensive care. You know, these are plans that are paid for by taxes that we all pay, you know, we have the right to access them, just like any other taxpayer, based on our income. The reason that I bring them up is because they have dental and vision, and I know we've got some kids in the mission who really need that. You know, kids in normal health who maybe get their immunizations, go to kindergarten, and then the doctor says, well, you see you when you're older. When you need a sports physical, see you then. And maybe they don't see the doctor for much else than you know, sniffles and the flu for 10 years. You know, those folks, you know, maybe don't need to think about S-chip, and maybe in those situations it would be a lot simpler to just keep everybody together under the same plan. But again, that is something that you need to pray about as a family and determine whether or not your conscience would be all right with that. Okay, let's see, we've got one guy asking about vision or dental options. Presently, the Village Missions plan is not covering any vision or dental options. If the HRA has good experience over the next year, our goal is to add that, and our hope and our expectation is that we will be able to do that. So you know, let's work together to keep the plan experience good, and then in October or so of next year, the benefit plan trustees will meet. They'll look at the plan experience and they will determine whether or not we can afford to add vision and dental. But I am hopeful. I am hopeful that we will be able to do that. Okay. Can you define good experience? Good experience means that we accumulate reserves, because we do, as a self-funded plan, we need to be thinking about accumulating reserves so that we can afford to pay for some of these unexpected but possible sorts of incidents that could occur. They're unusual, they're infrequent, but they could possibly occur. We want to build a little bit of a pool, a little bit of a reserve to take care of those things. And we cannot define that. We can't define that right now without doing some really extensive work with our claims history to determine exactly how much we should be putting away. Oh, Mike McWhinney has dollar signs. Yeah, lots of dollar signs, right, Mike? Yes. Okay. Can you explain again what the church will pay for the missionary in total, CHM, HRA prescription? I will run this down for you quickly, but again, the webinar from last week will be most helpful to you. It's only 20 minutes long, so I will send out the links for all of those again. If anyone has questions, they're welcome to watch them again, and you are welcome to share them with your board members also, and anyone else who is concerned, who wants to know what we're doing. Just go ahead and share those webinars with them. Okay. The church is going to pay, in total, they're going to pay $450 for singles, $812 for couples, and $1,100 for families. Of that, a portion is going to go to pay for the CHM premium, it's $192 for singles. That is going to go to CHM. And then on a monthly basis, there's going to be $200 that is going to go into the HRA. Part of the HRA is going to be set aside for wellness care. Part of it is going to be set aside to pay for that $500 personal responsibility payment for CHM in the event that you have a medical incident that requires that you pay the $500. And then another portion is going to be set aside as first dollar coverage. So the first dollar coverage is going to pay for visits to the doctor. It's going to pay for your prescription copay. That's a thumbnail sketch of what the church is going to pay, and there's a lot more detail in the webinar. Someone is asking us to tell us again about tax credits if we opt to go outside of CHM. Yes. Right now, in all likelihood, village missionaries will not qualify for premium tax credits because Village Missions offers an ACA compliant plan, and Village Missions is the employer. So that's the long and the short of it on premium tax credits. We have asked for a legal opinion. Right now that's just my opinion, which isn't worth much, but we're going to get a legal opinion, something that'll stick, something we can stand on, and we'll share that with you when we have it. Okay, and somebody's asking, will church pay Village Missions if the VMer goes with his own plan? No. If you choose your own plan outside of the mission, then the mission is out of the loop, really, and the church will most likely reimburse you. If you're a church where you're not in a group and you're the only employee, it's going to be an individual plan, and there is going to be some tax implications. Okay. If a missionary, next question, if a missionary wants their children to be on a if a missionary wants their children to be on a CHIP plan, will the church pay the premium for the children? That is a good question. Again, a CHIP plan is an individual plan. I think that the church should pay the premium. When we look at a church budget and the funds that are available to pay for missionary health coverage, the money's there. So they should be grossing up the missionary's salary to help reimburse for the premium. It's an individual plan. It's going to have to be paid by the missionary. Even if the church writes the check directly, there's still going to be tax implications. Okay, another question. This is about an adult child. Adult child has not been to the doctor in several years. Are you saying that it would be better for him to go on this plan, this other plan, rather than the VM plan? Again, that is your choice, but one of the guiding questions that you have to ask is, how do we use health care? If he's a regular guy in normal health and he never expects to go to the doctor, then he should be buying the cheapest thing available to cover him in case he has some sort of catastrophic medical incident. That's to help you and him avoid bankruptcy. That's the best advice I have for you, and you can take it from there. Honestly, I think for a regular, young, healthy guy to be paying for Village Missions plan is a waste of money. It's just not the best use of his resources. He'd be a lot better off picking up either CHM or an exchange plan for $45 a month. Okay. We had a flurry of questions there in the past 5 minutes or so, and it looks like they've quieted down again. So we may call an end to our webinar at this time. I've got a few in my email. I'll go through and respond to some of you folks on an individual basis if I need to. And of course, please continue to feed me the questions through the email. Next week, we are going to have Christian Healthcare Ministries back on the line with us to talk about the rollout, talk about how things are going to get started January 1st. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the feedback. This is going to be up on YouTube later this afternoon so that anyone who missed it can hear it, and you can go and review it again if you need to. All right, so thank you all. Have a good evening. Bye now.